So I want to check with Ben Benoit. Can you hear us, Ben Stanley? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll need to have you just be quiet for a few minutes so I can get the sound system set up.
Quiet.
Thank you, whoever did that.
Sorry.
All right, we just need to check the sound system for those who are calling in. Commissioner Lee is very sick, and so he's phoning in, so I got to check with him. Commissioner Lee, are you on? Commissioner Lee? Well, I'll try the others, and Ben.
That was a little weird. It's choppy.
Ben Benoit and Ben Stanley, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Commissioner. It's very choppy.
A little choppy? We'll work on that.
Very choppy.
Commissioner Lee, can you hear us? Can you test your system? Make sure you're unmuted. Modern technology. Commissioner Lee? Looks like you. Commissioner Lee, go ahead and hang up and try calling in again.
Well, I think that's
Is it everyone's?
most of the people are in Provo.
That's choppy. It's probably the phone. Let me hang up the phone.
If they stay on, will they stay there? To tell the people on Zoom not to hang up. We're going to hang up.
Okay, anyone who's on Zoom, don't hang up. We're going to reboot the system on this end. Commissioner Lee texted that he cannot hear us.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID. Enter your participant ID, followed by you have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting.
Looks like there's nobody there. It's empty up there so far. Once technology allows us to move forward, we'll go ahead and begin the meeting, but we'll just have to be a little bit patient. The rule of thumb is that the meeting is expected to start at 2 o'clock, and it doesn't start until at least 10 after or more, then you're allowed to leave whenever you want to leave. So I'll just let you know that.
Offer me a sandwich.
Yeah, the university, that was the rules of students in those days.
You have entered the meeting as a panelist. Attendees can now hear you speak.
So can I test it again? Commissioner Lee, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now, kind of faintly, but I can't hear you.
Okay. Ben Benoit, Ben Stanley, can you hear us?
Yes, we can, Commissioner.
And Ben Benoit. Bert Garfield?
No.
We can hear you, Commissioner.
Okay.
I can hear you. It
So-
might be better if you pulled the microphone a little closer.
That sounded garbled. I didn't quite
Yeah, it
pick up
said-
what he said.
He said if you could pull the microphone a little closer.
He wants me to eat the mic. Okay. That's true.
Yeah, we haven't started YouTube yet.
I think so. If we're good with everybody else, yes. So we're on camera? Okay. Then we will welcome everybody to the today's commission meeting, February 2nd, 2022. We always begin the meeting with a prayer reading or thought and a pledge of allegiance. And Linda Walton, she is an elder of the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Provo, has volunteered to provide the prayer. And we invite someone who would like to provide the pledge of allegiance after the prayer. Who would that be?
A hand in the back.
These thousands and thousands. Please, ma'am, thank you. Linda?
Ready? Abraham Lincoln said, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful to have the honor to meet as a free country, as a place that allows discussion, as a place that allows us to vote and choose and express our opinions. And Father, as we have this meeting today, we pray that your Spirit will be here to give us the information we need to make the right decisions, and also to remember that we are brothers and sisters in this country. We are so grateful for this time, and we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Linda.
Oh, wait. There were two. Either one. You have to state your name for the record.
Oh, okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chelsea Marvell.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, this meeting today is a commission meeting. I didn't know about the rally until just a few days ago. So as a matter of courtesy, if you have signs, make sure that people behind you can see in front of you. So if you hold up a sign, keep it so it's below your chin or your nose, somewhere like that. But we will go ahead, and what we normally do is we have our regular agenda item. We go through the outline that you may or may not seen. There's a stack of them in the back. And we go through all the agenda items. Once we finish that, then we go to public comment. It'll be that point that we can actually hear open-ended comments from anyone in the public. Out of curiosity, is there anyone here other than for the forensic ballot check? Two people in the back? Then we'll call on you first when we get to the, anyone else here? One over here? You're on the agenda, but this will be just for public comments. So for just two public comments then in the back, we'll call on you first, and then we will then go address others, and we'll see how much time we have, because there are some other things we have closed session for after the regular agenda. So with that, we'll begin with a recognition. Commissioner Gardner, do you have that?
I do. So we have our employee of the month, and our employee of the month is Lene Porter. I'm going to read about Lene. Lene is she's the school nurse coordinator for the Nebo School District. And lucky her, she was given this position 2 years ago, which I think is just the most absolute wonderful time to become a school nurse in our society today. So I think it's very fitting that we recognize her great service. Her coworkers and some of the people at the district have written some nice things about her. I'm going to read a few of those, but what I really would like to point out is that every one of these statements talks about how positive she is and how happy she always is. And over the last 2 years, that has been needed more than anything else. I'm a firm believer that there are two root emotions that all other emotions stem from. And those two root emotions are love and fear. And anytime you're happy, you're coming from a place of love, and we've needed that more than ever. I think there's too much fear in our society today, and anytime we can recognize someone who hasn't let fear overtake them, I think that's absolutely something we should do. So I'm honored to be able to read these things about Lene. It says, Lene Porter is the epitome of all that is good with school nurses. She provides tireless professional service to our students and our schools and has been a driving force in keeping our students safe in schools for the past 18 pandemic-laden months. She is honest and forthright in facing the reality of our collective challenges, but is always optimistic, hopeful, and committed to achieving what might seem or be impossible. We are grateful for her teammates in serving the K-12 school children in these unprecedented times. Lene is absolutely the best. That's from Superintendent of the Nebo School District. Another one from the Nebo District Attorney, Lene works and works and works. If she could be given the award twice in the same quarter, I would recommend it. She deserves it. She never stops serving her students and coworkers, and everyone who crosses her path is better for it. We've got several from her employees, the other school nurses that she supervises, and every one of them talks about how she is kind and patient, how when someone is out sick, instead of asking others to shoulder that burden, she steps in and shoulders the burden herself, and comes in and fills in when there's a vacancy. She fulfills those duties herself until they can be replaced rather than delegating those out to others. She remembers their birthdays, and if someone is having a hard day or has been sick, she calls and follows up with them, and has really been the driving force to keep the attitudes and the spirit of those in the Nebo School District School Nursing Program really upbeat through the last 2 years, which once again has been really needed. She came in right as Nebo School District was releasing their online system, and she took the time to complete all of the trainings herself and then worked with every one of her employees to ensure that they understood the system so that they could make that transition to online together. So some interesting facts about Lene. Her favorite vacation spot is camping in the White Mountains of Arizona. Her favorite food is anything Chinese, and her hobby is cooking new things. She loves to create fun activities for her grandbabies, and just loves to play and be positive and interact with people. She says that her favorite part of being a school nurse is associating with her peers and the faculty at the schools. She is a people person and is exceptional at that. So with that, we would like to present Lene with the Employee of the Month.
Have her say something first.
Come up to the podium.
Lene, say how embarrassed you are first.
Oh my gosh.
We would like,
I wondered why my heathen peers are all back in the back.
they're lined up for you. So why don't you say a few words and then we'll come down and take a picture.
I don't know what to say. It's been a hard go, but it's nice to be recognized, and I couldn't have done it alone, so I love all of them that I work with. Sorry. That's all.
I'm lucky enough because she's a neighbor of mine. For a second, I'll take this picture.
And a little note of our appreciation, and then I'm going to give you the nomination because I didn't read everything, and I want you to be able to read the things that your peers wrote about you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
I saw Lene's name late last week, and I thought, oh, yes, now I can just be quiet about it. And I succeeded. Again, she lives up the street around the block from me, so I've known her for about 15 years. She and her husband are great people. Okay, the next step is, as you may have seen off the agenda, is the consent agenda where there's nothing below it. What we'll do is skip over the work session public hearing, go through the regular agenda items to see if there's anything that the commissioners have questions on. If we don't, then we move them to consent and consider them all approved. And so that will be our next step. So we'll start with items 1 through 10. Are there any items, Commissioner Gardner, you'd like to hold?
I don't think so. Let me double check just in case.
And again, Commissioner Lee is online, so we'll ask him after.
You know what? Let's hold number 8.
8,
Yeah, let's hold number 8.
okay. I asked that we touch on agenda items 5 and 6 for a little content there. Commissioner Lee?
Yes, for me, 5, 6, and 8.
5, 6, and 8 also? Okay. And then 11 through 20?
I think we're going to strike item number 16.
Strike number 16
We had
because
an update to 17.
17 updates number 16, so that's why we're striking 16, okay?
But I think even then, Shawcroft, do you want us to modify 17 before we adopt on consent?
I think we could do that. All it is, it's a replacement of two numbers where previously it contained the QSIP number. Those two numbers have been replaced by the VOIA number on 2 of the funds.
So from QSEP to VOIA, is that correct?
Right, on the numbers for 2 funds. We'll just make those documents before, or changes before they're signed, but
Okay.
that could be a part of the approval.
Sounds good.
Okay. And number 20 is to approve a resolution appointing a member of the Utah County Board of Health. So hold that one.
Item 15 would need to be held. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yes, we do. I did not mention that. So we'll go with that. And then 21 through 27. Are there any
We could hold number
questions?
21.
21. Commissioner Lee? Okay. And then 28, 29, and 30, 31 are closed session meetings that we'll have to, after the public is finished and they move out, we will then close the door and have a meeting on these items. And again, you can see that on this. Are there any other items, Commissioner Lee?
No.
Okay,
No, I don't have any.
you're good?
Did we need all 4 of the closed sessions?
My understanding is we need 28 only,
Okay, so we can strike 29, 30, and 31.
Okay,
and then set 28.
and set
And set
28.
28, yeah.
Which will set for this date immediately following our public agenda items in this room. This date being today's date, February 2nd. If that's it, Alice or Maureen, whoever's running it.
Okay, I might have a couple of questions. I apologize. I have us holding 5, 6, 8, and 15. We're striking number 16, and then I wasn't sure, are we approving on consent number 17 with those changes, or are they being,
Yes.
is it being held?
That's the
Yes,
plan.
Perfect.
Yes.
And then after that, we're holding 21. And then as far as the closed meetings, we're going to hold, as stated, number 28, and striking 29, 30, and 31.
Yes, and I think we have to hold 20 as well in the resolution, or is that necessary?
We don't have to hold
Not
20.
necessary.
No, we don't have to hold it.
Okay, Commissioner Gardner is being appointed to the Utah County Board of Health for public information. So, yeah, we can make that consent item.
Okay.
All right. Let's go into agenda item number 5.
I think you need to do item number 1 on the work
Whoops.
session.
Yeah, we need to do the.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
I completely skipped
work
over the
session.
work session and then public hearing. I apologize. Okay. Mr. Shawcroft, on the work session.
Actually, we'll have to see if she's here. This would be the work session regarding the County Insurance Office
The VOCA
Victim
grant.
Witness Coordinator. Is she online?
Yes, I'm here.
So this is Katie Fox.
Oh, Katie.
Yes.
So,
Hi. I need to present to the commission twice a year on an update on our VOCA grant. I wanted to report that we are on track to meet all of our victim service goals for the VOCA grant this year. As we have explained in previous commission meetings, our funding for the VOCA grant has been significantly cut. Starting in July of this year, our grant will only cover a portion of our VOCA funded employee salary. That position is vital to our office. We are still trying to recuperate from the court shutdown due to the pandemic a couple of years ago, and our office is working diligently to get through the backlog of cases that need to go to trial. The victim coordinators in our office work to serve those victims whose cases have been stalled due to the pandemic, as well as all the new and incoming victims. Our caseloads are certainly not decreasing. While we have lost funding from the VOCA grant, I would like to highlight some of the resources that we have been able to purchase in the past and hope that the county can continue to provide these resources to the victims that we serve. We were able to purchase technology that helped victims connect with us and the court during the pandemic. This included laptops, iPads, and quality headphones. This allowed us to conduct Zoom meetings and have victims come to our office to participate in the court process. One of the most important resources we were able to acquire because of the VOCA grant was our soft interview room and play area. We were able to purchase soft and comfortable couches and chairs. We were also able to purchase a window that is now in between our soft interview room and our play area. This allows victims to discuss their cases in private while still being able to see their children playing with toys. The grant allowed us to purchase toys, a TV, and child-friendly furnishings to help even our youngest victims that we serve. I would encourage any of you to stop by our suite on the 3rd floor and see what our office has been able to do with the VOCA grant to help the victims of Utah County. Do you have any questions for me?
how much difference with that drop was that? How much did
we had to reduce our grant by 10% the first year and then 25% the second year.
dollar-wise, what does that represent?
I'm not quite sure. The first year, I think we reduced it by about $10,000, and our second year, it was around closer to $20,000.
$20,000 the second year. Okay. Okay. I'll have to follow up with that. Commissioner Gardner, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I'm grateful for the grant and the ability that we have to help make victims significantly more comfortable and allow them to, have their children there and present, but within sight as they go through these processes. So I think the best way to bring justice is to ensure that victims feel that they are safe. And I appreciate the grant and all the work that your team does to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
No, just thank you for the work that you do.
Thanks, Katie, very much. So do we need to make a motion to close our work session?
Yeah, or we can move on. We just move on to the next
And
agenda
then
item.
the next item is the public hearing to set the salaries for Utah County Auditor and Utah County Clerk as separate elected officials of Utah County, Utah, starting with calendar year 2023 for Wednesday, beginning Wednesday, or excuse me, today's date at 2 o'clock here at this location. Okay. Who's leading the discussion?
I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Have to vote on it.
So any comments from the public on this?
We need to vote on the motion.
Then you're right.
You're fine.
We'll go ahead and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So now we open a public hearing
Aye.
for setting the salaries for the separate clerk auditor and separate county clerk for county auditor. I'm stuck with an old term. County auditor and county clerk effective 2023. And so that's what this discussion is about. Any public comments on this? Anything from the staff?
It's not advised that you follow the example of the New Orleans Saints and the Taysom Hill contract when you go ahead and set these compensation amounts. But it is important that that you set these because in advance of candidate filing fees are actually fixed to the compensation schedule for the county. So thanks for addressing this.
Okay.
Thank you for that well thought out and deep advice.
And that's a good point. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Okay,
All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Second.
Okay, close, we have, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that closes the public
Aye.
hearing. And now we'll move to our regular agendas items. The first one again, Glenn, will call you back up again. Glenn is with Public Works. We're going to talk about approving and denying a request for an event permit fee waiver for an FAA event to use
FFA event.
FFA event in the Equestrian Park.
I want to point out that Glenn is wearing a tie today.
Oh, don't embarrass him.
I'm just Richard Jr. today. How's that?
You clean up nicely. Just saying.
Yeah, this request is from Cody Gull, and I think he was going to be here. So if he is, I invite him to come up. I'd invite him to come up as well, maybe just talk about what he's hoping to accomplish. But he is the agricultural teacher, FFA. I believe they're wanting to host a stock show event at the Equestrian Park, and they're requesting that event permit be waived. And I'll let him kind of speak on that for a minute.
Well, thank you for having me today. This was an event that we started last year and we hosted, and it was just a lamb show, and we held it right there at the Cedar Valley High School where I teach. And it's a way, it acts as an end-of-year project for my animal science students to connect with the community, learn that there are more jobs not directly related to animals, like in the agriculture sector, like marketing and advertising and just agribusiness type things. And this was a way for us to kind of reach the community in the north part of the county. And we're excited to do it, but we've decided to take it from just a sheep show to all 4 species. And we're hopeful that we can use the facility to accommodate our needs.
How many attend this event? Students specifically, and how many support personnel are there, and how many parents are there?
So I teach 5 sections of animal science, so that's right around 250 students that will be helping run the event along with their parents. It's open to the whole state, so for kids to come from anywhere around the state to come and show their livestock. Last year, sheep alone, we had just under 80 lambs show up for our first year, and so this year we're opening it to all 4 species, so beef, cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs. It's shaping up to be a pretty big event.
So you expect several hundred individuals there in addition to the students.
Yeah.
So you're maybe a couple thousand people.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, under 2,000, but yes, it's supposed to be big, so.
All right. My only comment is that I'm grateful you're doing this. I know that the CTSOs are a great part of our students' experience. I myself was a member of Skills USA and was very active in that, and it enhanced my future career significantly. But also, I want to recognize that a lot of people forget that agriculture is still a large part of our economy here in our county. So, so we definitely need to support these agricultural businesses and their future workforce. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully that's answers some of the questions.
It does. What's
Yeah.
the normal fee for this?
You know, Commissioner, I do not know.
Cheyenne Shepherd let me know that it was the. Just barely texted to you today. 300 for the event permit fee, and then 750 for the days that we need it.
Did you hear that? 300 for the event permit fee, and then 750 for the total days.
For all 3 days.
It's about $1,100.
So that 750 is just basically lease the facilities for those 3
For the
days.
3 days.
Problem in your view, in the Public Works view?
I think Public Works were supportive of it, so.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve item number 5 on the agenda.
Commissioner Lee, do you have
I'll
any questions?
second that, if I can ask a question after.
Yeah,
Go
absolutely.
ahead.
So is there entrance fees to this, or is this, I mean, I love the junior livestock program. I think it's a great benefit. I'm just looking at, as we balance the best interests and everything, is there a fee to these students that are coming to participate in this?
Yes, so there are fees. The fees that we charge are to help cover the prizes, the buckles, the costs to bring a judge in from where we have to bring them from, and any other costs that are associated. This is a non-profit event, so we don't make any money off of this. This isn't even though I'm an FFA advisor at Cedar Valley High School, it's not an FFA event. It's an agriculture program community event. So all funds go right back to the youth that enter their livestock.
Fantastic. So I'm wondering, for just transparency basis, a nonprofit organization, I fully support doing this to enhance and have findings that would be in the best interest of Utah County citizens and residents. Would you be willing, after the event is over with, to give us a recap of where we're at on a financial basis?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Cody.
Thanks.
Commissioner Lee, did you already make a motion to
He
adopt?
seconded. Yeah.
It broke up a little bit, just want to be sure.
I seconded the motion already.
Okay.
But if just with an understanding that there's going to be a follow-up.
And we'll work with Glenn Tanner on that. Okay. Okay, then we have all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and so that passes 3-0. It's as approved. Item number 6, $5,000 donation for the Equestrian Park. I'd just like to have some background on this
Okay.
donation.
So I believe Mike or Stacy is here, Bailey.
Oh, that's who wanted to speak.
So maybe while she's coming up,
Yeah.
I'll give you some background on it.
Yes.
So Mike and Stacy Bailey have actually been assisting with the Equestrian Park. I believe they're users of it, but they have also volunteered, and then they also are a time-limited employee as well. And they have looked at some of the items that could help enhance the park and make it a better operation and safer. And so they've generously donated $5,000 with a list of items that they feel like would be a benefit for the users to have upgraded and enhanced. We've kind of submitted that in a memo. We totally agree with those recommendations, such as moving some of the hourly signs, the handicap parking, fee area box, relocating some of those things. As we've looked at it from Public Works, their suggestions as far as making improvements to the park and what they'd like those funds to go to look like a very good idea. So I'll let her speak to that for a minute.
First of all, thank you.
Hello, as Glenn mentioned, I am Stacy Bailey, and I am currently a time-limited member of the maintenance team. And I have, basically I'm the guy that closes the gate at night. And as such, I have the pleasure of interacting with the people who don't want to leave the park at closing time. And I found that a posted sign of consistent hours would be most beneficial immediately, along with the other things that we'd like the funds used for. So if I may, I'd like to show you what we currently have posted at the park. So this is a sign of the park entrance. Some things I'd like to point out on this, I have highlighted the website that it refers to. That website then takes you to the facility use guide by the public that the public puts out, or for the public by the county. And on that, it lists our park hours as 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. If you like, you're welcome to take a look at this. Would you like me to? Thank you, Glenn. Here's another one. And so here is the facility use guide, county facility use guide, and where it refers to parks and trails. So you can see where those hours are posted. Now, as you go into the park further, if you go up to where the equestrian office is located, there are hours posted on that door as well that say Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., also Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and closed Sunday. So another inconsistency with our public information for the use of this park. And then also on all of the outdoor arenas and the indoor arena, you will find this sign posted. Some of the things I want to draw attention to is that it says no dogs are allowed in the equestrian arenas or park. However, our entrance sign says that pets need to be kept on leash, so that's not consistent. And we do have an off-leash dog problem at this equestrian park. I know there's a huge sign that says equestrian park off the top of it when you enter. It's hard to miss, but our park is frequently being used as an off-leash dog park, which poses a threat to people who are using the trails on horseback. And it poses a threat to the dogs as well. When my horse encounters him, he's not afraid. He'll take him down. Also, on these signs at the arenas, you'll see that one of the items listed here says that riders should not block off arenas of the arena. It also says that we should not be changing entrance fees. I'm confident that that should say areas of the arena and charging entrance fees. And in Utah County, we do have 2 reputable universities. I think we could do a little better than typos on our public signs. And then this is the sign listed by our bathrooms that just gives the hours to public works. So again, you'll see no park hours, but we do have the number to call when we do have an incident and we need the assistance of the Utah County Sheriff's Department, who, by the way, have been wonderful to respond anytime I've called them. What I would like to see, as well as some consistent and accurate information, including a list of items of activities that are prohibited within the park. I would also like to see one of these signs, like we have at the South Jordan Equestrian Center, that says this is a fee area and that a day pass or a 6-month or annual pass is required to use those equestrian facilities. This has been a long-term ongoing problem that our park has been considered underutilized because people don't pay fees. And when I check passes, many people still tell me that they don't know they're supposed to pay a fee and also that they don't know how. And that is quite valid. We do have on our liability waiver that people used to need to fill out when we were signing up for our passes the old school way, mailing this in, making our payment over the phone. There's now an option to do that on the website, and there's a QR code that's been printed and posted, but it doesn't list the current website to do that, which is ucparks.sportsites.com. And also these issues, these park rules, these liability things that should be followed by all park users are not available to the public on a sign. So I can assure you signs would be effective because each time I interact with someone and let them know the park is closed, it's time to leave, your dog can't be off leash, you can't be shooting archery or BB guns or golfing, they all say, there's no sign that says I can't do that. And you know what? They are correct. So please consider using these funds for all the improvements needed that you can, but first and foremost, I would like to see updated, consistent signs listing all park rules that all users should follow.
So you have a little bit of interest what goes on at the Equestrian Park.
Very much so. I love that park. I was even doing that job for free just because I like to be there. And then they offered to pay me, and that's even better.
Well, thank you for the donation.
So yes, I am a resident and a park user and would very much like to see the park maintained more. It does feel quite neglected. It does seem like of all the county parks I've been to, this one in particular is not up to par with the others as far as how well it's maintained and beautified. And I would like to see that improved.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Lee, Commissioner Gardner?
Yes, Commissioner, can you hear me all right? I got a text saying that you can't hear me.
We can hear you better now. Thank you.
Okay. Well, first off, to Stacy and Michael, thank you for doing that. It always impresses me that individuals will step up and do more than just complain about it, but will also say, I want to do something about it in a positive way, and I think this is a total positive way for the Equestrian Park as we move forward and look at all the options that are out there and help it to become a fantastic park in our county.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Gardner, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Then I move, do we have a motion to approve item number 6?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve item number 6.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. That passes 3-0 as approved. Agenda number 8, you mentioned something about this. I think this Commissioner Lee had something he wanted to
Yeah,
present on this.
I'll let him start since it's his
Commissioner Lee,
resolution.
do you have number 8?
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak on this. Bridal Veil Falls has been an area that we've worked on. I've worked on it, been a part of it ever since I was elected. And we have opportunity, kind of a rare opportunity, working with the state to designate this as a monument. There's only less than a handful of state monuments. And so I wanted to thank Representative Kevin Stratton, Jeff Rasmussen from State Parks, Wendy Fisher, who is our conservation easement holder, and her group, and also the citizens that have engaged in this process as we've looked at it. This resolution that we're putting forward is not the end, but the state did ask us to put this forward so that as they're working it through the legislative process, they can see where our intentions are as we continue to help make Bridal Veil Falls one of the gems that we all know that it is in Utah County and get it placed on that map. And so I'm thankful to see us moving forward with it. I hope that it gets a positive a vote from all of us, and then we can put it into the state's hands. And just for a note, this is a little bit unusual for a state monument. The way we're doing it is we had to kind of think outside the box and try to get this to fit right. And Jeff Rasmussen with his group of state parks has done just a phenomenal job in trying to find a way for us to get this done and allow it to move forward. So my hope is that we can pass this, so we can give it to the state, and then the state will continue on their process to get it to the point to where it is designated as a state monument.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Gardner, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, having grown up here in Utah County, born and raised here, and being from a family that grew up in poverty, Bridal Veil Falls was a large part of my childhood. We would picnic at Bridal Veil Falls very regularly. We would attend very regularly, and I do believe that it is a gem of our county, and I am very invested in ensuring that it stays accessible for all of our citizens, regardless of income. And so as we move forward with Bridal Veil Falls, I think it should be protected. I think it should be preserved, but more importantly, I think it needs to remain accessible to all citizens, regardless of their income. Right now, we are supporting Bridal Veil Falls using travel and tourism dollars. I think that is a very good use of those funds. Anytime throughout my life that we have people come visit, one of the first places we bring them is Bridal Veil Falls. I think it absolutely is a travel and tourism destination. It receives millions of unique visitors every year. And so my concern with asking it to be designated a state monument is that in order to be a state monument, it has to be monetarily self-sustaining. And there are costs to maintaining that facility. And so I fear that if we make it a state monument, we will have to charge for you to sit at the foot of Bridal Veil Falls. So I would prefer that we as a county continue to protect and preserve Bridal Veil Falls by utilizing our travel and tourism dollars. It does not come out of the property tax revenue. and continue to make it accessible to all citizens, unless the state were able to show us a way that they could make it self-sustaining without charging a fee. So with that, I think we all have the same end goal here, and that is to preserve Bridal Veil Falls and keep it accessible. I think we just maybe disagree on the method of doing so. And so I'm going to respectfully vote no on this resolution, but it's not because I don't support preserving Bridal Veil Falls. It's just because I feel that if the state were to take it over, they would charge a fee. And knowing that this was such a pivotal part of my childhood, I want to ensure that it can maintain to be a part of the childhood of every child of this county, regardless of their means.
So, Commissioner, can I address that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That concern. So that has been a big driver for me as well in keeping it open and accessible without charging fees, and so the kind of the compromise that we went through in the state was that it will be held, basically managed on a day-to-day basis by Utah County. Utah County will be the one that manages it with the state designation as a monument, so the state doesn't necessarily take it over and start running it, because you're right, if it goes to a park, a state park, then in their bylaws for state parks, it has to be self-sustaining. Monuments, on the other hand, for the state, they basically just say, there's a monument and here's a plaque, and that's what we've got is just a monument with basically no funding. And so that was a considerable discussion that we had over and over, and it's been reassured to me through this process. And as we work out the details with the state, that this will not have a fee to it. It will more than likely be supported through TRCC money into the future, but there will also be some one-time funding of approximately $1 million from the state that we can use to keep the Bridal Veil Falls upgraded, and then keep it so that it is free. It's not one that we'll be charging a tax for or charging a fee for. Yeah. And so we've kind of crossed that barrier, and I feel comfortable that we're headed in a path where we will be able to maintain that and keep that one under some local control. And like I said, it's out of the box. So this is not what the state normally does with state monuments. But we wanted that designation because we can also then apply for grants to help out, and the conservation easement also has grants that they'll go for, and it just brings it up on a higher level for us to offset some of the other TRCC monies that we have there.
Right, and I understand that, and I agree. I just don't have confidence that we don't know who's going to be running that department 5 years from now, 7 years from now, or 10 years from now at the state. So unless we had a written in stone enforceable contract with them, I don't feel comfortable voting yes at this time. So I totally understand where you're coming from and the efforts behind it. I think we have the same goal in mind. I'm just not at the same level of comfort as you are.
Yeah, I think the resolution was.
Yeah, and I feel totally comfortable with it just because I've been in those conversations, and the state is in essence using their state monument status as a name, but it's not using it as a control factor or a control lever for Bridal Veil Falls.
Yeah, and this is supposed to help the discussion push toward it being a monument with a permanent support by the county for the fees, or not fees, excuse me, the very thing we're not wanting to do. But we have annual funds from the tourism funds that we can use toward is what the focus is. Robert, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, that's correct, Commissioner Sakovich. This is just a signal to the state to continue with their process, because if you remember correctly, to designate it as a state monument, it has to have a favorable recommendation from the commission, from the local authority, for them to even go forward. And then the details, I think that Commissioner Gardner is worried about, is at a later time when they actually go through that process, we'll finalize some of those things, which I think we're all on the same page with when it comes to being open for the public.
Robert Moore, County Attorney's Office. Just real briefly to add to the discussion. So in December of 2020, well, first of all, December 30th, 2014 is when the county purchased the 5 parcels that surround Bridal Veil Falls. And then December 20th, or excuse me, December 2020 is when we entered into a conservation easement on that area. So last year, we started the discussion with the state to make this a monument. And my understanding in my discussions with the state was if they become a state park, then you have to charge. If it becomes a monument, they don't necessarily have to charge. And so that was the reason why it went the monument route as opposed to state park route. So that was the reason why we're going this route. And on February 17th, 2021, the county commission adopted a resolution supporting the process to get started and where they would go through and do a report on this. And I think that has been completed. To Commissioner Lee's point, the very last sentence of this proposed resolution says that Utah County intends to provide management services for this state monument pursuant to an agreement with the division, referring to the state parks, and the provisions of the State Monuments Act, et cetera. So that is in here where it's intended that the county will end up in an agreement with the division related to management of the Bridal Veil Falls properties. Also, just be aware, I did review our conservation easement from December of 2020, and we did make an exception for this very purpose. We anticipated back in December 2020 that this could in fact become a state property or a state monument. And so we did make an exception in our conservation easement to address this very issue.
Glenn, do you have any status where we are on improvements? Because we had some supporting funds that came in if the county put in some initial funds earlier last year.
Yeah, so I'll give you an update on kind of what's going on with Bridal Veil Falls. Currently, the county has been working with Central Utah Water. They've been doing some improvements on the falls, specifically water collection, to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the aesthetics of the falls. So they'll be hopefully completing this spring. We're in the process of working with the city to put in a vault toilet. That's what we can actually put in that area because of the springs and the spring collection and making sure we don't contaminate the waterway. So that's being worked out. And actually, we have actually purchased that restroom. And we also have just completed the design of the pedestrian bridge. So that'll be being bid out here pretty quick to actually put in place and install probably this summer, with also some additional trail improvements, parking lot, and other facilities being improved and adjusted. So
The toilet, the vault toilet, whatever it is called, is that going to be on the north side of the river, or?
It is on, I'll say, the road side of the river.
Roadside?
Yeah, because of the avalanche danger and that's the best location for it. So.
Okay. I remember the first one.
And then I also, just so you know, I did speak to state parks today about the park and the monument and the possibility. And they are intending at this point to enter into an O&M with us, an operation maintenance agreement, if this goes through. And that was one of the things that they did bring out to my attention. So, okay.
Call it a healthy distrust of government. I want to sign the O&M before I vote yes. I know the irony of me saying that. I get it, but.
Yeah, I look in the mirror, right?
Yeah, because we have to vote for something for them to be able to.
Like I said, I'm not opposed to it. I want that O&M in place, signed.
What I like about the resolution is simply our feelings of what we want to see out of this. It doesn't bind the county to anything. And in fact, if something were to go south in all of this, we could change our minds and say we want to revoke the resolution based on X, Y, and Z type of thing.
No, that does make me feel better, but I like that. I'd like that drafted.
Well, remember the management. The management on this is going to be with the county.
Yeah.
Or the state's recommendation on it.
Yeah. So, any other discussion on this from the staff? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 8.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0 as approved.
No, I did not say aye.
I thought you said
I
you-
seconded the motion. I did not vote for it.
All right, now I am confused.
Just ask for any opposed.
Okay, any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. I misinterpreted what you said there.
No
Okay.
worries, we're good.
So I will back up a little bit. So one opposition, so that passes without, unless there's further discussion, pause, then that passes 2-1 then.
Correct.
One negative then. Okay. All right. Agenda number 15, I believe, is the next item.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve. Having had the public hearing, I think we can approve that now.
Any further discussion, Commissioner Lee?
I believe that.
You'll need to set that salary.
We will.
I'll second that motion, and I think that we need to set it at 121 for both offices, $121,000.
I believe it would be 121,664.
And
if you want to be consistent with the other offices.
Yes, and that'll be for each position, $121,664 for the county clerk and for the county auditor separately.
Yeah, I'll consider that a friendly amendment to the motion.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Lee, we were discussing, so I don't know if you made a motion in affirmative or not.
You did.
Well, I second it.
You second. Okay. So all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, that passes 3-0. Again, number 16 has been stricken because number 17 has been its replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're moving on to, I guess,
Item number 21.
Item 21, Commissioner Lee.
Yes, and so is Paul Jones there?
He is.
Yes, he is.
And he's coming up.
Hi, Paul.
Thank you for your work on this, Paul. And I wanted to make sure and go over the items that I was concerned about with the video and or the audio, because we do have written approved minutes. But in many cases now, I mean, it wasn't so much the past, but now we do have video and audio. And so I wanted you to kind of talk to that and see if the other commissioners would be favorable to the language that you drafted up that would help us with that. It's not perfect, but it would help us.
Yes.
Yes, Paul Jones from the Attorney's Office. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I did draft this resolution, which would allow the public-facing minutes to be redacted in the case that it contains information about an individual, and that information is later the subject of an order of expungement. At Commissioner Lee's request, I added, and we did upload this to the commission agenda just a few minutes before the meeting started. So I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look at it.
I have not.
Okay, it does add a provision basically saying that to the extent that the county has audio and video recordings of the same meeting, that the minutes are allowed to be redacted because of an order of expungement, that to the extent possible, the county would also redact out those portions of the audio and visual, or the audio and video recordings of those meetings to the same, with the same standards, that the original will be kept on file and could possibly be viewed if the commissioners find good cause to do that in the future. So the idea behind the amendment that we just uploaded was to kind of include audio and video recordings of the meetings.
And the order of expungement would come from the court specifically?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, the order of expungement would come from a court, state court.
Okay. Commissioner Lee, you...
So the key word in there is may, and I think that it's important for us to emphasize this because when things get out on audio and video into Zoom land or internet land, it's really hard, as we all know, to have things retracted. And I think that the may gives us an opportunity to do our best, but it doesn't leave us open for any liability purposes into the future if we can't get if we can't get everything off.
Got it.
Yeah, I think it's a good addition. I'm very in favor of this. I know the state over the last several years has been working hard on things like expungements. I think there's too many people in our society, especially in the world of the internet, that make stupid decisions at age 18 or 19 and then can't get a job in their 30s. And that doesn't help them, but it doesn't help us as a society either. And so anything that we can do to continue along this process, following the state's example on allowing more expungements, I think that'll help people. I think that the goal of our criminal justice system needs to be to reform people and help them become contributing members of society, and I think that this goes along with that, so I fully support it. But obviously, we need to add the may, because we can only do our best efforts, so I appreciate that.
Okay. Do we have a motion then?
I'll move to approve item number 21.
And I'll second that, and with the clarification that it's with the addition
With the additions of audio and
that
video.
was uploaded.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones
That's a
acknowledges
friendly,
that's the case. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, I think that concludes our regular agenda items.
So now we go into public comment.
Yeah. So we will do now, it shows it toward the end of the page, but we always move public comments before the closed session, so we'll move to public comments. Now, I think most people here are for the ballot process. Those who are not here for the ballot process want to discuss that. Would you raise your hand if you have a comment if it's not related to the ballots?
We have one in the back.
Eldon and one in the back.
And Eldon.
Mr. Eldon, come on up, please. We'll hear them first, and then we'll go to the rest.
My name is Eldon A. Neves. Commissioner Gardner, I was taking offense when you said that you were raised in poverty. It was not poverty, you just didn't have any money. There's a difference, isn't there? There's a whole difference there. Also, I was talking to, or wondering about Commissioner Lee, and I don't know if maybe this needs to be expunged or not, but when he mentioned he was sick, last night, he and I were out snowboarding, and it was just kind of late in the afternoon. He was just fine as can be. There was not any problem. However, there was some wild turkey bottles that I had to clean up afterwards, and I don't know if there's anything to do with that or not, but possibly there's something to consider. With Commissioner Lee saying he's taking his time off because he's sick. He may not be.
I just want a picture of you and Commissioner Lee snowboarding.
Okay. But I do want, it was fun, but I do want to.
Eldon, I don't believe that you can actually snowboard.
I'm really good at it. But what I did want to do is thank the commissioners and also Rob Moore. I met with him today. The whole county except for Dave. I mean, they're just really great people. Today there was Rudy, I think Livingston. He came up to me, said hello. We had a conversation. Everybody within the county is just really good people. And I think often you get chewed out, but not given thanks. And I wanted to, for me, except for Dave and Alice, sometimes she mistreats me. But other than that, it is really good. Also, another thing, Commissioner Tom, it's my understanding that when you pledge allegiance, if you've been in the military, you can actually salute even though you're not in uniform. Is that right? And I do that because I think it's a great thing to do.
Maybe I should, but I just want to kind of blend in.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. And thanks for all you do. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Eldon.
Thank you. Next person, please. And when you come up, please state your name and where you're from. Alice, do we have any others online? Maureen? No, okay. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jemima Street, and I'm in Benjamin. Just kind of want to go along with agenda item, believe it was number 6, with the donation for the Equestrian Park. Previously, we had received a donation of $10,000 left in the drop box anonymously. And We would just like to make sure that that money is actually going to be allocated to the Equestrian Park and used towards making those changes that Stacy so eloquently brought forward. There's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of crazy things that go on just because there are no consistent rules and a lot of discrepancies. We had actually I was one of the volunteers before I moved to south of the county that opened and closed the facility, and we did run into that problem a lot, that the hours were so inconsistent, but we did get approval to open the park on Sundays because the county was not able to. So we would open the park on Sundays so that everybody could enjoy their animals, and also the park users that go and use the trail system there as well. We recently were just told that we can no longer open the park on Sundays because it's not consistent with the hours that are posted. But as you can see, there is no consistency in the hours that are posted. So we would like to have that revisited to be able to allow volunteers to open up the park. I mean, there were days that I would show up at 9 a.m. and the gates were closed. You were only locking out the people that paid to use that facility. And other people were jumping the fences or taking their dogs underneath the fence. So if it's an issue, let's get rid of the gate. I don't know what the solution exactly can be, but there are solutions, and we as volunteers have been locked out, constantly hitting roadblocks with volunteering our time to go and help clean up the building. So I would just urge that you guys really push towards that. We got a committee reformed to make consistent rules, and it seems like it's just gone in circles. No progress has been made. So I just urge again the commissioners to maybe lean on Public Works to get that in the works of moving forward rather than just staying stagnant.
He's not here.
I know, I just looked, I'm like, Glenn left.
Dave, is this something you and Glenn could work out?
Yeah. Well, and I think Commissioner Lee is on that committee, so
Yes.
we can work with him as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that to us and coming forward. And the committee, like I said, I know we just reformed that, and Commissioner Lee is on that, and we'll absolutely work with you.
And then just one last thing that I wanted to touch on the website that it directs you to for the rules of all parks, it does talk about the county facilities are not to be used for commercial purposes, but it gives exemptions. And we would love to be able to get the park as an exemption so that we can have community organizations come in, like different horse shows would love to use that facility. It really is a state-of-the-art facility that we don't have. We're being pushed out all over. And the horse community is a very large community, but we don't get represented. So I would just, again, urge the commission to allow us to be able to host events there, because it brings in money to the community and to the facility to help make it better.
Yeah.
Dave, would Rob Moore be the one who would draft that policy change for us?
Well, we could look at it.
If we look at it.
Probably needs to review it and make a recommendation.
Right, that's what I'm wondering, if we can have Rob look at that and
On it
we can
says
discuss it.
that the commissioners just have to vote for it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, when we vote, we try to vote and make sure it's on paper the way we anticipate it should
Yeah.
be voted. Otherwise, someone might misinterpret what we're trying to say. So we want to make sure it's correct on paper, then we vote.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Anybody else?
Are there any other general public comments? Okay, we have until 4 o'clock to take public comment. And Alice, what we'll do is we'll limit it to no more than 3 minutes. It says on the agenda 2, but let's just make it 3 if there's a lot. I should ask first of all, how many would like to say something other than everybody? Okay, then this is what I want to give you some background first on this. I've been doing a lot of digging. I didn't know about the rally until just a few days ago. I think it may have been Monday or Saturday, one of those foggy days when I wasn't awake yet. But I became aware of it through an email that there was going to be a rally today. So we were going to have this meeting regardless, but we always have public comment. And you can talk about expanding the size of a golf ball or widen Provo River or something like that. You could talk about just about anything. So we're going to welcome you to make comments about the elections. And Alice, did you want to say something about anyone online?
Just if we have anyone on Zoom that would like to make a comment, if you can raise your hand, but if you would also make sure that on Zoom your full name is listed.
Good, thank you. But as a backdrop, I went through the law. We made copies. It's on the podium there in the back corner. The statute is a state put together years ago. It was updated in 2020, but it was been around for a long time. The county commission has no authority to overrule or demand publishing of election results. The county clerk, who has control over it, is under the direction of the lieutenant governor, and it has to follow the same state statute. So we cannot release those records ourselves, just so as an advance notice on that. And we got a letter from Lieutenant Governor's office a few days ago, and it says, it reiterates what's in the law, basically. And to outline it, the election officials, what they're limited to doing, in addition to make sure they're out there and available, is to inspect the ballots and the election returns to make sure that they are sealed, preserve the ballots and all other election returns, and deposit and lock them in a safe, secure place, preserve all other election returns for 22 months, and then destroy them without opening or examining them. This is a state law telling the county clerk, who's the elections officer, how to do this. And then only provide the election returns unopened and unaltered to a court presiding over a timely election contest, because it's 13 months in, and then pursuant to an order of the court or subpoena. And so we're limited as to what we can do with the ballots. We have separately talked with our state representatives. They have this in mind. They understand what's going on. They see they see the turmoil that we all feel going in the nation. And there is some frustration and some concern. But I wanted to give you a backdrop that I can't order the elections officer to release those ballots, and the elections officer cannot, on his own volition, release those ballots, even if there was a PDF file placed on the website, at least at this junction. And so we're kind of painted in a corner. I asked Mr. Daniels to touch on anything else that he might want to add on this, but is that about it? So that's about it. So what I would welcome is for you to voice your thoughts and feelings, because this will be recorded on YouTube. So make sure you smile. But it'll be recorded, and you can use that YouTube however you see fit. But the idea is that right now, at least under state law, I can't touch them myself as a commissioner. I have no authority, no jurisdiction. None of the three of us do. And then the elections officer, is the county clerk, is limited to what he can do. And part of that is because the county is an extension of the state. The role of the county is to record records and property, rights, making sure your boundaries are intact, marriages are recorded, other like things, and preserve the peace. And so largely that's where our focus is, and all other structures goes to support those two principal focuses. Yes, we have infrastructure, and the public works is in high demand for water, sewage, power, access points and all of that, which supports our land rights use. And the county, though, it exists as an extension of the state. And so we can't act against the state, if that makes sense. But we have the state law that limits us. And again, we made some copies in the back for you to take with you if you care to. So with that as a backdrop,
I've got just a few things to say as well to add to that. It was absolutely a fantastic backdrop. As many of you know, I was actually the county clerk in 2020, so I oversaw the election. And a couple of things that you said are absolutely correct. I think we have this idea, when we talk about federalism, we have this idea that we as states are independent than the federal government, so therefore the federal government can't tell us what to do. Fully support that. I fully support our Attorney General, Sean Reyes, and suing the Biden administration every time they overstep our rights. But counties, like you said, are different. We're not a group of independent counties that make up a state. The reason the counties actually became formed is because it was too far to ride on horseback to go to the Capitol to do things. That's literally the reason we have counties, is because the state government needed to be able to perform business, and it was too far to ride on horseback from any given place. And therefore they formed these counties. And we as counties, we don't have independent power. Our power is granted to us by the state, but we have to follow state law. So under that, we follow state law. As the county clerk, when I was the elections official, I conducted elections based on what I was shown by the legislature. The legislature sets those laws and does those things. And we have to abide by those. We can't, if we tried to violate those laws, a court would stop us because we are beholden to those laws. With that said, a couple of things that I heard in last week's commission meeting, there were a couple of people that gave comments. So I want to preemptively say this. We do not cast ballots electronically in our county. When I became the county clerk in 2019, we canceled, one of the very, very first things that I did was I canceled our contract with Dominion. We were a Dominion county in 2018. I canceled that contract within a week of being in office in 2019. We switched vendors. We use 100% paper ballots. It does not matter whether you use the ballot that we mailed you, whether you use the ballot that you get printed at a voting location, or even our disabled citizens that use a remote ballot marking device on their phone, they still have a paper ballot. We are 100% paper ballot county, and we have been since I was elected in 2019. So in the past, people came and they worried that when they pushed a button on a machine that their vote didn't correlate. We don't use those types of machines in this county. Everything is a paper ballot. And so I want that, to be known. We are different than Salt Lake County. Salt Lake County still uses other people. With that said, I know there was those misconceptions, so I wanted that to be known. With that said, I want people to know I have been for 5 months, I've been in contact with the senator from Arizona who did their forensic audit, and I have been asking her for a list of items for a forensic audit, and in 5 months, she has not replied to me. So we've been trying, but we are bound by law, and we will continue to try, but we can only do what we can do. Thank you.
So as a backdrop, so what will happen now is that this public comment.
Commissioner Sakovich?
Yes, sir. Mr. Commissioner Lee?
If I could make a few comments. First off, the election process for all of us, I would assume all of us, is pretty sacred for us. It's the bedrock of our democratic republic that we fall under. And I hear election integrity, and I hear election results and forensic audits and understanding of what what that looks like and what that is. And I think that and I understand laws were put into place to keep ballots secret and simple and not to be thrown around in a way that can be misconstrued. Obviously, if you put some information out there, it can be manipulated and changed again and again and again till then you don't even know what the process looks like. And so I do support us looking at all legal options. And this is where it gets kind of fuzzy at times, because there are times in which the legal interpretation of it is just that, a legal interpretation. There are other times that it's pretty consistent and solid. And I can see that. I think we all can see that. But I would hope that we as commissioners, when there's an opportunity for us to bring more transparency to the process, to make sure that the voters in our county feel confident because that's where we have to settle. We have to be in a place where our voting is determined, and we understand it, and we believe in that system. So if there's chances into the future, or if there's chances for us to take that side of it, I am fully in favor of even pushing the envelope a little bit if it comes down to a may instead of a shall, or if there's an opportunity for us to say that interpretation is right. Because there's a couple of things that happen. One, this process can happen through the courts, not the most favorable way in my opinion, or it can happen, through legislative processes, which I think is more favorable, more individuals involved. But I applaud anybody, and I don't know how many people are there, but I applaud anybody that comes forward and says, listen, I've got a concern, just like we listen to with the Equestrian Center, just like we listen to with people who come up and they say, we've got concerns. Is there a way that we can get past this? And I am all in favor of looking out and looking for solutions, especially when it comes to such critical infrastructure for us as a society and us in a democratic republic.
Thanks, Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Gardner. And I think all three of us have been in touch with our legislative body to consider doing this, particularly since the ballots themselves have no connection to the individual who filled them out. There's no name or address attached to them other than maybe the precinct is identified in the upper left corner, and that's the only thing. So we've emphasized that, and we will continue to stay in touch with them and see if there's something we can do to allow these ballots to be published, as long as they stay anonymous and can't be tied to the person who voted. So I think all three of us have been talking to the representatives on that, so thank you. With that, we have to wrap up at 4 o'clock. So what I'd like to do is, because we're going to have to go in closed session.
We could do 4:15, I think. I think we could do 4:15.
Yeah, I'd prefer that we go to 4:15 as well.
All right, then we'll cut it off at 4 o'clock or 4:15. And how this works is that you're free to come up and express your views. Please don't swear at me. I cry like a baby when you do. But anyway, you're free to come up, express your thoughts, your feelings, what you would like to see done. But we can't respond in a public comment. It's just an opportunity for you to present your thoughts and your views. And when you do come up to the podium, please let us know who you are and what city you're from. So with that.
Hi. My name is Dave Burton.
Dave Burton.
I'm from Cottonwood Heights, but these concerns are statewide. My career was 45 years in IT, and so that's where I'm speaking from. And a couple things that triggered me to have this conversation was my daughter, who's not lived in our house for years, her ballot came to our house rather than her new address. But her driver's license changed, and this process says that shouldn't happen from what I'm reading from this document. The other thing that happened was a friend that we know personally went to vote, but the system said they couldn't vote because they had already voted. So there are flaws in the system. I'm not here to speak to the audit so much. There are others that will do that. What I want to speak to is the processes that audit the processes. So any environment, IT environment, you have to have people, one step removed from the actual work that review the work, because there's been many cases where you have inside manipulation. So I'm not talking about outside hacking, which goes on constantly. I'm talking from the inside, where you have employees that can manipulate things. And I personally know in my career of 6 instances of places that I worked where inside employees were the ones that were creating malware in the software themselves, programmers or others. So as I look at this document, there are questions that I have about it, and it talks about various things that are done. I would step one step back from that and say, are these being audited? So these are stated as statements of what's happening, but who's auditing to make sure those are happening? I just want to comment that I commend you for getting Dominion off the plate. You should be applauded for that.
I do have to point out that Roseanne Mitchell is the one who triggered me to that. She called me up and said, hey, you may want to look at this. So I want to
Excellent
give the
move.
credit to Roseanne.
Whoever did it, excellent. Whoever approved that, excellent move. I also want to say that I feel for the polling people and the clerk, and I empathize with them because as I read through the code of what they're expected to certify, they would have to have technical experience way beyond most people's ability. And I just use this as a practical demonstration. So one of these has a virus in it. Can you tell me which one? Can you tell me which one? If I were to ask the people who oversee your voting process, or even your IT people, could they tell you which one had a problem? And therein lies the problem. It's beyond most people's ability. So you need to look at your processes and audit the processes that you're saying are happening. So
thank you.
I would be happy to spend more time with you outside of this meeting and give you some ideas based upon my experience in IT and hundreds of security meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Stephanie Grant. I am from Lehigh, and we just want the support from everyone to help secure our elections because we don't trust the elections. And that's a problem, as it's a nationwide problem, especially the fact that we don't show ID to vote. Like, that is so scary. You show ID to do everything. You show ID to go pick up a package, to get on the airplane. Like, it's very scary that, and Utah was ranked 41st from Heritage Foundation of the worst secure states for our elections. So we, a group of citizens, have an initiative going on to help secure our voting. We want it back how we used to do it. We want people to vote in person, show ID. We want it hand counted. We don't want machines. We don't trust the machines, like he was saying, that you can put software on machines. There's so many things that can go wrong. We trust people. So they've only given us just a few weeks to collect signatures, and it's a statewide initiative. And the steam we're picking up is just incredible. If we don't get our numbers, it's strictly because of the very short amount of time that we've been given. But people, 9 out of 10 people you talk to don't trust elections and want to sign our initiative right away. So we have, everyone in here should sign our initiative before you leave. And if you want to be a packet holder, help us collect signatures. We have 2 weeks to do it. So will you raise your hands if you have packets with you? Look who's raising their hand. And if you need to get a packet from somebody, find one of these people. Like, raise your hand if you have packets to get. So yeah, find, a lot of us are in here. It's growing everywhere. I mean, a kid in Logan took 100 packets himself. We're just a college kid. There's so much pride picking up behind this movement because we love America. We want to trust the electoral system. If you don't trust that, you have nothing. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
My name is Chad Shattuck, a longtime resident of Utah County since the early 80s, Saratoga Springs since 2001. I was here last week and expressed some concern about some trends in our voting records. All the voting information I'll cite to comes from voteinfo.utah.gov. And so it's publicly available information. I was troubled quite a bit by the shift from a 9-to-1 relationship between Republican votes cast in 2016 to Democrat to in 2020, it's 2.5-to-1. Now, I didn't see this movement towards liberalism. In fact, I think most people enjoyed the prosperity they saw in the last 4 years. Josh Daniels, the clerk, was kind enough to meet with me after the meeting last week, and we met for almost 40 minutes. He showed me some visuals and a video and some process, and trying to educate me on how the votes are handled. And we disagreed on some things as to where there might be breakdowns in the system and where fraud could take place. But nonetheless, the underlying premise that he suggested was that there are disillusioned Trump voters that suddenly voted for the sniffer. Now, I don't agree, and certainly I might be wrong. I've been wrong about many things in my lifetime, but that shift from 9-1 to 2.5-1 is problematic, and we need to take a look at it. That's Utah County numbers, okay? Now, Miss Amelia Powers, Powers Gardner, makes me think of doing yard work fast. You made a good point that we have to follow the law, and this is precisely what we want you to do here. We want a forensic audit. We also want you to respond to GRAMA requests that ask for information that is not protected, okay? Under Title 63G, so under the GRAMA Act, 63G 201 subsection 2, all government documents are public unless expressly indicated otherwise in a statute. So, ballot images, public. The ballots are sealed. You bet your bottom dollar, okay? And there's been no contest, so those stay sealed till they're destroyed. But we have ballot images. We have a project backup database. Those belong to the county, and those have been asked for. They should be produced. There's no reason to hide it. The clerk confirmed that belongs to the county. Now, Utah-wide, November 3rd to 9, so after the election last year, there was a drop in registered Democrat voters in the state of 35,669. Then the following week, there was an increase of 37,836. What's going on here? Something is wrong. We have to take a look. We can't just presume everything is on the up and up. Last number in the state of Utah, we had, if we look at November 3rd to November 24th, so after the election, those 2 weeks, we had an increase in total registered voters of 34,969. That doesn't happen. People don't register afterwards. It's like brushing your teeth after you go to bed. We need to take a look. Please do it. Thank you.
Jason Preston, Lehigh, Utah. Thanks. Chad's actually a childhood friend of mine. I love the quote by Benjamin Franklin where he says, in free governments, the rulers are the servants and the people, they're superiors and sovereigns. And it really feels like we've moved a long ways. I'm not speaking to you, by the way, Tom. I'm talking to you because you're amazing. But it feels like as a country, and I think even as a state of Utah, we've come a long way from the proper role of government where the rulers don't feel heard and where they feel that the servants are now become the rulers. This is clearly, and just the initiative itself shows how concerned people are, the rulers are about our election integrity. It's the fact that we're getting challenged is concerning, because why would the servants whose job is to serve the people challenge? If we had a business and the business owner tells the employees, hey, things seem like they're not working well here, I'd like to have an audit, and the employees challenge the business owner, that feels like what's happening right now in this country and in this state specifically. I have meetings with people all the time, and I ask, what are your biggest issues? One of the top 3 biggest issues is consistently voter integrity, election integrity. It needs to be addressed. And my concern is when Steve Christiansen addressed the Senate, the way that they treated him was very disturbing. We had people say that they were above reproach, that how dare we challenge, the elected officials. And then we had Deidre Hendrickson say, we don't have a problem with election integrity, we have a problem with misinformation. And instead of investing in election integrity and an audit, we need to invest in educating the people, which you can see how effectively she's working on that. I don't need the government telling us what they're doing and what the things we don't need to be worrying about and covering their rear end. We want the government to have an independent forensic audit. And the other thing that's very concerning to me is ranked choice voting. When did I get a vote? When did we get to choose that? How many people are concerned about? How many are concerned about ranked choice voting? How many of you had a say in that?
None of us did. None of us. Yeah.
This is not okay, guys. And as this representatives of people, and we should be watchmen on the towers. We should be championing this. We should be going to the state, to the lieutenant governor and saying, our constituents are frustrated and we want accountability. We want you guys to champion us. Please. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon. My name's Kristen Ritchie. I'm from Highland. I've been walking the streets the last 2 weeks in the cold, in the mornings, at night, collecting signatures on this initiative that we're doing. And I've talked to so many people. And I've determined the state of Utah needs a full forensic audit of its 2020 election. There are so many concerns and questions that linger over the past election nationwide and here in our state. Here's a few things I've talked about with people this week. They've asked me, what was the chain of custody regarding those mail-in ballots? Was there ballot harvesting in Utah? Why did 3 mail-in ballots come to my house for the deceased family member? Was signature verification conducted accurately? Why don't we have to show an ID to vote when we have to do for so many other activities of much less importance? What about voting machines? Are they manipulating my vote? Who oversees our elections? Is there conflict of interest in how they are run? We need a full forensic audit in our election in Utah, or there will be a complete loss of confidence in the process going forward. We all love watching the Jazz or our favorite football team, BYU or Utah. When there's a questionable play, we all wait anxiously for the referees to further review the play. They delve into the video footage, pick it apart, investigate it from various angles before issuing their ruling. We all get to see it. Why do we demand a review on a play in a football game, but we're all supposed to blindly trust officials telling us there's absolutely no problem with our Utah election when that is questionable? Governor Cox recently said, anyone who questions election integrity is playing a very dangerous game.
Yes, he did.
I took offense at that. Really? It's not worth an audit to clear the distrust? Lieutenant Governor Hendrickson said it is the opinion of the Lieutenant Governor that repeated demands for access to election systems data with the stated purpose to audit or verify officially certified elections is not in the public interest. Really? Calling for a review of the play is not in the public interest? What are they worried about if it was all done honestly and there's no corruption? We demand further review. It's time to stand up, be courageous, and demand a forensic audit of the Utah election. This is amongst our most sacred rights, and it's worth fighting for. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Laura Sanger. I'm a licensed psychologist from South Jordan, and I'm here to implore you to vote for a full forensic audit of the 2020 election. Like so many of us are sharing, there's a crisis of confidence among Utahns in our democratic process. We need to understand and know what happened in our election. Consequently, people have lost hope, and I hear so many people say, you know, what's the point of voting if the system is rigged? Dinesh D'Souza just released a trailer on a documentary entitled 2,000 Mules, and he used cell phone tracking, and they have evidence of 2,000 ballot harvesters dropping off illegal votes in drop boxes. This makes me think about Utah's universal vote by mail system. Governor Cox is so proud of this, but now we know this is fraught with problems. The fabric of our nation has been unraveling since 2020. When elections are rigged, we no longer have a free society. The only way to restore confidence is a full forensic audit. Ronald Reagan once said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction." We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same. I've been an advocate and mentor for children and teens for 29 years, and I'm deeply troubled by the country that we are handing to them. Our freedoms are being eroded each day. I believe it all starts with rigged elections. In the most recent Rasmussen poll, 74% of voters believe that the last 2 presidential elections have been rigged. May I remind you that dictators come into power through rigged elections. Dictators use government overreach to restrict freedom. This is what we are experiencing today in America. It's a slippery slope towards dictatorship. Each week, we have new restrictions implemented through government overreach. What type of country are we passing on to our children? You have the opportunity to be the first county in Utah to vote for a full forensic audit of the 2020 election. Your bravery can be a declaration to our children and grandchildren that you will fight for free and fair elections so that they can grow up in a democratic representative country instead of under oppression of a dictatorship. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Marty Grobecker, and I'm from North Salt Lake, but I worked for Salt Lake County Council for 21 years and just retired. And I'm so sorry that Roseanne is no longer working with the County of Salt Lake.
We're not. We're happy she's here.
Oh, I'm sure you are. I'm here because I want you, I don't know if you know anything about the first flag that George Washington flew. It was the Appeal to Heaven flag. He knew that without the help of our sovereign God, that he could not, with his ragtag army, defeat the most powerful army on the earth at that time. So he took this flag and he put it on every warship. And he got that Appeal to Heaven quote from John Locke in his article, Laws of Nature. And in that, it says that if men cannot receive recompense from other men, that their only recourse was to appeal to heaven. And so I'm here, and we're all here appealing to heaven, that you will be the courageous county to look for the loopholes, to do the right thing and do the forensic audit. You do the forensic audit, other counties are going to do the forensic audit, and you are standing on the right side of history. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much for giving us time to speak to you today and for listening to our pleas. Rebecca Colley from Sandy, Utah. I am a woman of faith. I know you are professionally up against a Goliath, but remember, David didn't compare himself to the giant. He compared the giant to the Lord. I'm a concerned voter. We had a huge turnout in 2020, way more than ever. It begs the question, why was turnout in Utah so high? We're all asking if there's something else generating increased turnout in the mail balloting system that has been in place for a pretty long time. How did our voter rolls become so inflated? One possible answer is third-party liberal organizations who have the ability to register Utah voters may have corrupted our voter registration information. We know they're corrupting our schools. Utah needs to move forward with a forensic audit. They need to confirm once and for all if Utah will find similar truths as other states, or verify once and for all with complete and thorough transparency if there are anomalies that need to be addressed. Perhaps you'll find what percentage of voters was registered in a single day, or where exactly did Utah experience more tallied votes than registered voters. For instance, in Pennsylvania, through a public records request, that's why those grandmas are so important, they learned that nearly 100 Democrat-funded groups outside of Pennsylvania have keys to the state's voter registration system. There's not a single conservative organization on the list. Yesterday, in Virginia, a senator presented a bill for a full forensic audit with evidence. Would we find similar results here in Utah County or in Utah? I don't know. What the people are asking for is being done across dozens of states. This is not just a Utah feeling of distrust. This is a national epidemic, and the government has lost the trust of the people. It's that clear. And I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. A forensic audit in Utah is even more critical because the lieutenant governor in 2018 and 2019 oversaw elections while campaigning to become governor. Complacency is the enemy of freedom. Action gives birth to liberty. Given your constraints, my plea to you is to please support personally and vocally a forensic audit and regain the people's trust that has been lost in Utah. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Kimball. I'm from Salt Lake County. I live in Holiday, and my message today is asking you to restore voter confidence. As you've heard, there's a large amount of people that are not confident in our votes being cast. In fact, I have to tell you, this is the first time since I'm going to tell you how old I am, since I turned 18, because I was one of the first people that could vote the age of 18 way back in 74 or whatever. And I didn't vote. Because, you know, I had watched and seen how this last election cycle had so many problems across the nation. And I personally went down and volunteered after November 3rd of 2020. I went down to Clark County and actually canvassed an area. We went from the very rich areas of Clark County to the most poor areas of Clark County. And there was mail-in voter fraud across the board in all areas. In fact, there were enough affidavits that were signed and turned into court that they actually reheld a county commission race because it was close enough that the margin of error, they had to rehold a race. So to think that we are using the same voting process with mail-in ballots and to think that there isn't some problems that could happen or could possibly happen in the future. Our vote is too sacred to risk that. It's like leaving your keys in the car, and as long as it doesn't get stolen, it's pretty convenient to have your keys in the car. But that one time when your car gets stolen because you left your keys in the car, it's irreparable. And that's what we don't want to have happen with our elections. So, you know, I'm asking you to consider a forensic audit because that is the only way that we can restore our voting confidence going forward. Thank you.
Sorry. Victoria Manayan, West Jordan, Salt Lake County. I'm going to read you the same email I sent my county commissioners. Greetings and thanks for your service. I'm a retired FAA, which is very different from the FFA, by the way, a Navy veteran. I spent 30 years in government service, and this is propaganda. When I was the treasurer of my local union, NACA, National Air Traffic Controllers Association, I was audited twice a year to ensure the integrity of our local union funds. When I was the elections officer, I was audited once a year to ensure the integrity of our local elections under threat of federal law and prison. Not once did I protest or accuse my auditors of having it in for me. I never gave a threat. I didn't say they were denying my rights. On the contrary, I welcome the audit to prove that I was doing my job well and to correct any unintended human error. With the information coming forth from other states of the inconsistencies and noncompliance of election laws, I, as a citizen, am demanding full transparency via a full forensic audit of our 2020 presidential election. I support an election system that has checks and balances and is self-correcting through a bipartisan forensic audit for every election in Utah. I propose we return to paper ballots and in-person voting, with respect to some exceptions to reduce the availability of fraud and cheating. I support the full enforcement of the current laws that criminalize intentional voter fraud. Joseph Stalin was quoted as saying, "I considered it completely unimportant who in the party will vote or how, but what is extraordinarily important is this: who will count the votes and how?" History shows that Mr. Stalin did not have the intention of making elections free and fair, but instead, by controlling vote counts, he would control who was installed in office. Many Americans, including myself, are not willing to give up and give in to bully tactics that will destroy the greatest democratic republic in history. I want my grandchildren to know the same freedoms and liberty that we have up until now enjoyed. Don't you? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Beretta. I live in Salt Lake County. My college background was in mathematics and computer science, and I'm a retired software engineer. Commissioner Powers Gardner, would you be willing to repeat what you were saying about trying to contact an Arizona state senator about audits?
Yeah, I have an email thread that states that goes back to, I think, September or October, to ask about the process that they used for their audit. And the only reply I got was, "Good luck." And I said, "Can you give me your processes?" And I've emailed her multiple times saying, "I'm bumping this to the top of your list. Can you give me the process you used in Maricopa County so that we can go through?" And I haven't gotten replies.
Okay, so you, and
Representative Phil Lyman is on that email chain, and former representative, I can't believe my mind just went blank, Steve Christiansen, were both on that thread, and neither of them have replied to any of my emails.
Okay, I wanted to know that. And you also said that you got rid of Dominion voting machines when you were the county clerk. And were they replaced with another machine?
So we replace it with paper ballots. We use what's called ballot on demand now, where you come up and we print you a ballot and you fill out a paper ballot now. So we don't use a machine at the polling locations. The only thing we have at polling locations is a printer that prints off a paper ballot for you.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Right. And I mean, coming from Salt Lake County, you wouldn't know that because they do it differently in that county.
Right. That's one less component that you would have to audit if Utah County were to do a forensic audit.
Right, yeah, we use ballot on demand, is what it's called. So we print you a paper ballot.
Okay.
And we use that system particularly because I don't like the idea of pre-printing those ballots and having stacks of unfilled out ballots sitting at polling locations.
Okay.
That doesn't sit right with me. I want it to print so that we have one ballot per person in that location.
Okay. I'll keep my remarks short here. All I'll say is I'm finding it very difficult to believe that President Joe Biden received 2.5 times the votes that Barack Obama received in 2008. Barack Obama, when he was campaigning, drew crowd sizes of 50,000 and more people. And I did not see that in 2020 with Joe Biden. And Hillary Clinton was not, in 2016, was not even able to pass Barack Obama's vote in 2008. So not only do I see that in Utah County, but I've seen that in Salt Lake County, the same pattern in Salt Lake County and in other counties in Utah. The second thing I just wanted to say is that Utah officials are vigorously obstructing access to election data. And to me, that raises questions even more alarming than the election itself. the other thing is, if we are conspiracy theorists, then so is former President Jimmy Carter, because his Commission on Election Reform said that mail-in ballots are the largest source of potential fraud. Thank you for having this hearing.
Hi, my name is Mike Brown, and I'm down here all the way from Davis County. Yeah, Davis County, woo, bountiful. And I am the proud dad of 5 boys. And if anybody who has children should know the famous saying by Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. We love our kids, we learn to trust them and they build that trust, but it doesn't hurt to verify. That's how I see this whole election audit. It could be the best election ever, as has been said. Well, trust but verify. So there's no harm in doing an audit, full forensic audit, to verify that. So I don't see any harm in that. And unless you've been living under a rock the last couple of years, many people are upset about the election and know that there was dodgy stuff going on. So I just encourage you to stand up and be the role model for the state. And just also remember who you work for. You don't work for Deidre, you don't work for Spencer, you work for the people. I was at the hearing in Salt Lake where Deidre Henderson, was chastising us plebes for questioning these elected officials and said that they were above reproach. I don't think so. I don't think so. So one thing, a famous quote by Lenin was, "A lie told often enough becomes the truth." We hear this lie over and over that this was the safest, the fairest, the best election in history. Okay, I don't think so. Well, if it was, let's verify it. Trust but verify. So I encourage you as a county to take a stand, take the lead in the state, and show that we do have good elections here. They are fair and they are done right. If they're not, well, good, we'll fix it. And we'll find out. So I encourage Utah County to take the lead in doing this, and just remember you work for the people. The reason all these people are here today and on Zoom and have been standing up over the past 2 years is because we care about this country. We love this country. If we don't have our vote, we have nothing. We are no better than any third world nation out there. We have nothing. And Utah should be a model. And Utah County can be that model for Utah. So I encourage you to take a stand. Don't be afraid of the governor and the lieutenant governor. Know that you work for the people, not for them. No matter what backlash and threats they might give you for actually auditing, I encourage you to be strong and stand up for what's right, and encourage you to, have a full forensic audit of the 2020 election. Thank you.
My name is Eleni Wilding, and I live in Orem, Utah. And I represent probably about 15 people from my family, maybe more, who feel the same way that I do. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of time to come to these kinds of meetings. And I'm grateful that you are willing to have a public hearing on these kinds of things. And I agree with what this gentleman said here, is that we're the sovereigns and you're the servants. It couldn't be said better than that. And so listen to what we have to say. Mine is a very simple example. In my family, we have 7 registered voters. That includes my husband and I, my children, and their 2 spouses. And in those 7 people, I had my son and his wife received 4 ballots at 3 different addresses. My daughter received her ballot at our house, which she hasn't lived at for maybe 7 years. It's about 7 years. And so that's, for 7 people to have that, 2 instances like that represents about 30%. So you extrapolate that out, and that's potential for fraud. Now, I'm not saying that it happened, but I'm saying it's potential. And that needs to be looked into. That's not okay to say, believe us because we said so. Like that other gentleman said, trust but verify. I support everything that's been said today, and I hope that you will take this very, very seriously. It would be so wonderful to see Utah County be the county that stands up, maybe as the first county in all the country that says, we're going to look into this because our constituents want us to. And so even though, you could probably look at all these people and say, times 10, because I always say that if there's one person that's speaking up, there's 10 people that feel the same way that just don't have the ability to speak up, or it's not convenient for them. I've got 1 minute left. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Hope I can do it. Not very long ago, well, it was a while ago, maybe about 10 years ago, I was talking to a BYU basketball player who was a new citizen in our country, and my daughter-in-law asked him, "Did you vote?" And he goes, "No," and she railed on him. And he goes, "Let me ask you a question. Why do you want me to vote? Basketball's like a full-time career. School's my second full-time career. The only thing I know is the signs that I see out in the yards." And he said, "So tell me why you want me to vote." And I thought to myself, I don't want you to vote because you have no knowledge. You haven't done any of the research, and you have no knowledge. I want an informed electorate, and that's not a popular thing to say. But when you try to make it easy for everybody to vote, those who win are those with the most money to make commercials, to put out signs. Those are the ones who win. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Sharon Anderson from Orem. Can you tell me if Utah County is using VOTZ, V-O-A-T-Z?
Only for military and overseas citizens and those with disabilities. It has to be a qualified person. Those people were previously voting by email. They would take their ballot, fill it out, scan it, and email it back, and that violated their right to a private ballot. So it's a very, very small, limited number of people, and it's only those that are legally required to be able to return a ballot electronically.
Thank you.
And there is a paper ballot that corresponds with that, by the way. Yeah.
So after hearing everybody today, I hope the county will ask, what can we do? You've mentioned the restrictions that you have, and I guess the voting is under the lieutenant governor, but can someone in our county clerk department have input to get things changed on the state level? I hope that
it's the legislature. It is under the lieutenant governor's department, but it's governed by state law. So that would be our state legislators.
Okay. I'd like to reiterate about the initiative that's going on. For all of those of you who may not be aware, you can go to securevoteutah.org and you can find out more about the proposed changes. And we are getting a lot of resistance from certain parts of the government and certain individuals, but it's very important. So if you want to sign a petition or carry a petition and gather signatures, you can go to this website. You can also read 10 reasons why vote by mail has a lot of issues. I'd like to cover just a couple of those. Chain of custody issues, centralized tabulation by machines. You don't have to show ID to vote. Speaking of ID, every time I've gotten a mail-in ballot that we're supposed to return in the mail, it offends me that I have to put all my personal information on the envelope for anyone to see. That's not a private ballot. Elections are longer, which causes campaigns to have to spend more money. Counterfeit ballots can be introduced into the system. The secret ballot is often not completely secret. And it talks about how a voter might be influenced by their roommates or their family. And that is a problem, especially when people get 3 ballots for people that aren't even at that address. I urge you to consider what can be done. And I urge everybody who might hear this to go to securevoteutah.org and click on the information. And it's interesting that on this initiative, people can't sign electronically, but you can vote without having to be in person. But to do the initiative, you have to have the pen and sign the paper.
We've actually been trying to make it so you could sign electronically, but once again, we're bound by the law. But I agree with you, absolutely.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Hi, good to see you again. Last week was fun, but this is even funner. I'm Sophie Anderson, and I have had the honor and the privilege to be an active member of my community through numerous grandma requests. And you might wonder, and I think some of the county clerks wonder, why will this woman and my friend Jen Orton not go away? Like, what is with these women? Aren't they mothers? Aren't they busy? Like, don't they have a life? And yes, we do. And that is exactly why we will not go away, because we are mothers. And we refuse to allow our country to be handed over to tyrants. And this strikes a very personal chord for me. My mother is a Cuban refugee, and she taught me from the moment I was born. Well, you know, how much can you learn when you're a newborn? But you get my point. From the moment I had the ability to learn, she taught me you never, ever, ever give up, because living under tyranny is not worth living. That's a life not worth living. And so I think I can speak for Jen. I think we will not give up, because life isn't worth living if our country is run by tyrants. You know, I thought, just really quick, I want to make sure I get all my points, but Tom, I understand the immense pressure that is put on elected officials, especially elected officials that have integrity and that are fighting for the people. I understand. I would not want to be in your situation. I do want to say that as far as the ballot image requests that I have made, and as far as the tabulator tapes requests that I have made to your county, and the video surveillance requests that I have made to your county, it is my understanding that all of that data return, all the election data return, is owned by we the people and the county. Now, if that's not true, someone educate me on it. We have the ES&S contracts that explicitly state that we own the data. The lieutenant governor doesn't own the data. The state doesn't own the data. Cox doesn't own the data. We, the people, own the data. And so if we request it, we demand that we will receive it. You know, I thought that Lieutenant Governor Henderson could not provide any more beautiful gifts to our movement and to our to patriots. I thought she could not be outdone. And just when I think she cannot be outdone, she goes ahead and does this beautiful pamphlet that I guess someone came in here before we got in here and decided to pass these out on every single seat. And what I love about this is it's got this beautiful Lieutenant Governor seal on it. And I mean, I'm not in the habit of refuting things, but I cannot help myself right now. Just on the very first point, the very first one, like I was like, you know what, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it because she's not worth. But I mean, the first sentence, the second sentence. Utah uses a statewide voter registration database that is maintained by the lieutenant governor. Okay, have you ever heard of a thing called Eric? And it's not a person, so it's not Deidre or Deidre's office that is controlling our voter rolls. No, it's this thing called ERIC, Electronic Registration Information Center. So right there in the first thing, you know, they're so worried about us spreading this. I'll wrap it up and just give me,
we only have 5 minutes and we've got a line of people still.
I understand. I drove from Salt Lake County. Give me 30 seconds, please.
We don't actually
We'll have to have a hard stop in about 3 minutes. I apologize.
Okay, give me 3 minutes.
No, it's somewhere. We'll need to call it.
Okay, just, you know, they're so worried They're so worried about us spreading misinformation, us being the conspiracy theorists. Right here, I can go through every single one of these points and poke holes in it. These are lies. We, the people, demand a forensic audit. We want you to be the heroes that you can be. We are laying this out for you to be the heroes of Utah. Please step up and be it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are any of the people that are left from our county?
Okay, we have a hard 3 minutes and we have to stop.
Are any of the people left from our county? I just want to make sure that citizens, oh, you are?
Utah
Okay,
County.
perfect. Thank you.
Alan Grant, Saratoga Springs. Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner, moments ago, when you were talking about Bridal Veil Falls, you expressed that you have a healthy distrust of government. So does everyone else in this room.
I agree.
I am trained in experimental design. I am trained in statistical analysis. I am trained in scientific research methods, and I am also trained in data analysis. I want you to prove me wrong. I don't want to be wrong that the 2020 election was fraudulent. I believe that there was massive fraud. Please prove me wrong. You have the opportunity to do so today to vote for this. Let's do it.
Tina Horlocker, Davis County.
I apologize, but she'll have to be the last commenter.
Citizens motion to extend. Can't you buy 5 minutes?
I've got others that are coming in separately, but I apologize. Thank you.
Okay, so Tina Horlocker, Davis County. I just wanted to take a moment to also say that the voters are disillusioned. They have great distrust. They're discouraged. There's many unanswered questions. All I have to say when I'm gathering signatures is no more mass mail-in voting. They want to sign on the line. I was in D.C. on January 6th, 2 to 3 million people there. You're going to tell me those people were not there because Biden won? I mean, they were there because they did not believe Biden won. And how could that possibly happen if Trump didn't win? And this is not about Trump. This is about the voting. But I will also say I was in Arizona a couple of weeks ago, not for the Trump rally, but I was there. There were 70,000 people that were there for his rally. I will tell you that this is a movement that is growing. This is not going to stop. People are going to continue. I'm going to monthly events where these are being held across the state. I held a We Can Act Liberty conference in Salt Lake City in October, and this is not something that's going to die away. I would love for Utah County to be that city on a hill to allow for this to happen and be an example to the rest of Utah. But after it's all said and done, every state will have forensic audits. It will happen. So Utah County, let's do it. Let's start here.
Thank you. That has to do it.
It's 4:13. It's 4:13. You said we had till 4:15.
It's 4:15 now.
It's 4:13. They have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. So I wasn't going to speak anything, but I saw two inconsistencies that I want to address. Aaron Davidson with Linden, Utah. So we were all given one of these as we came in, and I've actually been charged with three counts of charges dealing with knocking on the door at the Alpine School District Board meeting. Oh, wow. Okay, so I've been representing Pro Se, and I have delved into the code, and this is a snippet of code. So the code is like this web. And this is just like a snippet.
Yeah, there's
I'm sure you can
415
find,
there's about 430 odd pages of it. Yeah.
So you found something to give you an excuse not to do any kind of an audit, but I'll guarantee you there's probably code that shows that you can. So this is just a snippet. The other one is, Amelia, you said that you moved everything to a paper ballot if you go to the voting stations.
No,
okay.
Across the board. Every ballot is a paper ballot.
Right, but I got mailed a ballot.
Right, and it's paper.
Paper, yes. But how's it counted?
Same way that the ones at the polling locations are.
Okay, but there's a lot of discrepancies that people have been talking about. So I still don't trust, one person, one vote. That's still not guaranteed. I'm going to turn over the rest of my time to
the time is now expired. I apologize.
I'll be super fast, I promise. I'll be really quick. Chair members, thank you very much for this time. It's great to be with you guys tonight. I'm going to try and condense this. So, Dave Adams, Kaysville, Utah. One of the greatest things that always held America together is the balance of power. And then one of the number one things that we're hearing from everybody at these levels is, well, I can't do anything about it. It's a state level. So how about Utah County leads the way? You guys, there was a great spirit when I walked in here. I thoroughly mean that, okay? How about you guys lead the way and you create an article whatever in the Utah State Constitution that is synonymous with the Article 5 in the United States Constitution that is called, and we will call it a Convention of the Counties. And we will order that if 2/3 of the counties get together and say, we don't like what the runaway capital is doing, or we don't like this, then we have the power to go and say, hey, we're going to override you, capital. We need to start thinking outside of the box instead of saying, well, the buck stops at the capital, or I can't do anything. And in these categories of this election fraud, there's 3 categories. There's one who knows there was fraud, there's those who don't know there's fraud, and there's who are afraid to find out in the elected positions across America. Would anyone in an elected body, in an elected position, want to sit in a seat that they don't belong in? There would be no real power behind that seat for you. And I want to believe that nobody in America would want to unlawfully and unrightfully sit in a seat. So let's not be afraid to open this up. And if needs be, let's figure out a way to stop this. The Capitol has control over us, because no, they don't. We should have the ability, just like you can have Article 5 in the constitutional side, and the states can convene and go against the feds. We ought to be able to have the same similar situation here. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I really do appreciate everyone coming and expressing your thoughts, and because that's what the government's supposed to do, is to be a servant to the people. So I appreciate you coming. I think with that,
We have to go into closed session now.
yes, so we'll have to close out, and thank you again for coming. And we have a couple of items we have to discuss after everyone's gone.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.